There's no doubt that 2023 was the year of Barbie.
Hi, Barbie!
Hi, Ken!
From the doll's big screen debut to 165 brand integrations, Barbie Pink was inescapable.
Here we go, Barbie day one.
But years before cameras started rolling on the Barbie movie, Lisa McKnight had been working on transforming the iconic doll's image.
So we did a lot of soul searching, and we did a lot of work to go back to the original purpose of the brand. Why does Barbie matter?
As Chief Brand Officer of Mattel, Lisa has gone from reintroducing Barbie to the world to championing everything under Mattel's umbrella. So you're taking some of those successful initiatives and moving it across to your other properties as well.
Yes.
Turning the toy maker into a global brand powerhouse.
We believe Mattel has one of the strongest catalogs of IP in the broader industry.
But can Mattel replicate the Barbie movie's success? Or was she a one-hit wonder? I am Raja Rajamannar, Chief Marketing and Communications Officer of MasterCard and a best-selling author writing about our industry's future. Marketing as we practice today was founded on theories and principles from more than 6 decades ago, long before the advent of the internet, social media, or artificial intelligence. I have had a front row seat as new technologies, cultural shifts, and an explosion of data have disrupted the ways of traditional marketing. To connect with the savvy consumers of tomorrow, marketing as we know it must take a quantum leap forward. This is quantum marketing. Founded in 1945, Mattel is one of the largest toy companies globally. Boasting a portfolio of hundreds of products, Mattel is the owner of brands like Hot Wheels, Fisher-Price, American Girl, and of course, Barbie. Lisa McKnight has been at the company for over 25 years.
Great to see you.
She took over as Barbie's global head in 2016 and has played a leading role in the brand's transformation. I visited Lisa at her office in Mattel's headquarters to learn how she turned Barbie once again into a global phenomenon. You joined Barbie in 2016. And this is a brand which is more than 60 years old. Now you fast forward it to 2020 and 2021. It's the world's #1 toy property. That is one heck of a transformation. How did you do it?
Oh my goodness. Well, we had a bit of a situation almost 10 years ago where the brand was losing relevance. Barbie was still popular with kids, but parents that even grew up playing with Barbie no longer felt great about giving Barbie, for example, as a birthday present to a friend's party. They didn't see Barbie as a role model. They felt that she was out of touch in terms of reflecting the world that they were seeing around them, and they wanted something better for their daughters in particular. So we did a lot of soul searching, and we did a lot of work to go back to the original purpose of the brand. Why does Barbie matter? Why was she created? We looked and took a lot of inspiration from Ruth Handler, the co-founder of Mattel and creator of Barbie. And the reason why she created Barbie almost 65 years ago was to inspire her daughter that she could be anything when she grew up. She wanted Barbie to be a source of female empowerment. She didn't like what was in the marketplace at the time. There were only baby dolls available to girls.
When I grow up, I want to be a mommy.
You can play mommy right now with Ideal's Betsy Wetsy.
So that encouraged girls to role play, nurturing, caregiving, being a mom, which is wonderful. But she wanted her daughter to have other opportunities too, like her son had. He was playing with toys that encouraged him to be a firefighter, to be a doctor, to be an astronaut. So Barbie was created as the very first fashion doll, and we took a lot of inspiration from that original purpose, and we used that purpose to guide the next 6+ years of transformation. In addition to, of course, shifting our marketing message to focus on limitless possibilities and Barbie as a point of inspiration, we also transformed the product line dramatically. And that takes more time. We were able to turn on the marketing message sooner than we could affect the physical product. With the physical product, we added massive diversity to the line. Today, Barbie is the most diverse doll line in the world.
Wow.
Different body types, different ethnicities, different abilities.
A reflection of true reality.
a reflection of true reality. And that took time to iterate, and we're still adding more to the line. We are really, taking that calling seriously. And then many other things that we've done over the years to make Barbie a positive role model, to get us to where we were, as you said, in our peak year of 2021, where we were the #1 doll, but also the #1 toy in the world.
Which is extraordinary, after 60 years or 65 years.
Yes.
What an incredible accomplishment it is. And you have done something called the Barbie Dream Gap Project. Would you just elaborate it a little bit?
Yes, well, as part of the brand transformation, over these past 8+ years, we felt that it was important that Barbie, with the North Star being around female empowerment, that we backed that up with a social mission initiative. We did some research partnering with a researcher actually at NYU who observed, about 7 years ago, that starting at the age of 5 or 6, girls in particular start losing confidence in their abilities and their capabilities and start seeing themselves as maybe less competent than boys. And so obviously that was upsetting to us. And we wanted to learn more and understand, well, how do you mitigate that? How do you close that gap? So we created an initiative to even the playing field for girls and to raise consciousness around this dream gap issue. And we work with a lot of partners around the world, different organizations that work directly with girls, whether it's Girls Who Code, whether it's helping girls learn about finance, all sorts of organizations that help girls believe in their own capabilities, leadership, et cetera, we've been a proud supporter of. And today, I think our latest number is we've impacted over 25 million girls with the Dream Gap Project.
Congratulations. That's profoundly meaningful, profoundly meaningful.
Thank you.
Now, I have been in many industries before, but not in toy industry. I love toys, and I love indulging my friends' daughters or granddaughters or grandsons, giving them toys and playing with them and so on. What is unique about marketing in the toy industry?
It's obviously a very fun, emotionally charged category to market because most of us grew up playing with toys. Some of us still play with toys or we collect toys, but we have an emotional connection to the toys and the brands that we played with. So that's very rewarding and satisfying, that emotional charge that you get when you pick up something physical and you have a memory of nostalgia and wonderful times playing as a kid. But what's unique about this business and what's actually more complex than meets the eye is that we have many constituents and audiences that we need to think about. We need to think about the core user, which in most instances is a child. Mm-hmm. We need to think about marketing, though, at the same time to the shopper, who's typically a parent or an adult, in that child's life. And now we're seeing an exciting trend with adult collecting and people and fans making self-purchases. So that's a third audience
so
that
this
we have
is
to think about.
Grown-up adults who are collecting these dolls just as a hobby.
Yes.
Fascinating.
Yes. So we have 3 audiences that we need to think about. You've got to then think about stretching that media budget accordingly and prioritizing.
Right.
But ultimately, what I would also say about toys, which people don't necessarily think about, is that it's a fashion trend business. This is a business that has low barriers of entry. Hot toys can come from anywhere and can take off. And so it's really important to be constantly innovating and reinventing even legacy brands like Barbie.
And innovate Barbie did. After spending years developing a feature film, Mattel and Warner Brothers released the Barbie movie in theaters on July 21, 2023 in the US. Now, a company like Disney starts typically producing a fantastic movie, and then that equity flows into the products, the toys. You have put that on its head. You flipped it completely. You had an existing property and you took it to the film world. How did this work? And just give a little bit of insight into your thinking on this.
We see our toy brands as IP. And in fact, we believe Mattel has one of the strongest catalogs of IP in the broader industry, inclusive of the entertainment industry. And yes, our brands originate in physical toys, which is really interesting. So to your point, we think about how do we extend and expand the audience for those brands, and how do we create deeper connections and deeper engagement. And with the Barbie movie, for example, we have a history of storytelling with Barbie. We've created animated movies targeted to kids for decades. But we had never taken Barbie to the big screen and brought her to life in live action And it was something that we had entertained, discussed, met with various folks for creative takes throughout the years. But it really wasn't until Anand Kreese joined our company as our CEO and comes from an entertainment background that he really helped accelerate conversations, in this instance with Warner Brothers. And from there, we got the right talent with Margot Robbie as a producing partner and certainly the star, but also Greta Gerwig as screenplay writer and director. And when we found that combination, as well as an incredible cast and many other amazing filmmakers attached to the project, we knew we had a story that we were finally ready to tell.
The film smashed box office records and became the highest grossing release of the year, earning $1.4 billion worldwide by year end. Barbie became Warner Brothers' highest earning global release ever, unseating 2011's Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2. Greta Gerwig also made Hollywood history by becoming the first solo female director to have a movie hit $1 billion. Barbie broke all kinds of box office records. And some of the numbers behind, at least from what I have seen in the press, are pretty mind-boggling, absolutely. Yes. And not only that, beyond the numbers, there was also a lot of these cultural ripple effects. Can you talk about these?
Well, we worked on this film for almost 6 years, so this was a long time in the making. Mm-hmm. And certainly the pandemics happened in the middle of all that. We had lots of time to think about the marketing activation and the surround sound that we wanted to create. I mean, we wanted to paint the world pink, and obviously we wanted to have a giant sort of play date with the world, as well as have everyone recontextualize Barbie as we sort of look to the future. So we had time to think through all of that. But nonetheless, timing is everything. And we were very fortunate to, frankly, be coming out of the pandemic when the movie marketing started to hit. Fashion runways were leaning into the color pink. Interior design was leaning into the color pink. That trend got named Barbie Core.
Wow.
It could have been Pink Core.
Right.
But it was named Barbie Core because there was that obvious connection between our brand and the color pink. And so that was something that we immediately, jumped on and tried to amplify however we could in social and so forth. And then the first look pictures started to come out and leak from the movie, and the fandom started to build. And by the time we got to the summer of 2023, the world was ready to party. Everyone wanted a reason to convene and to celebrate and have conversation and build community. And that's exactly what happened with the movie.
Yeah, I think what's fascinating is it's not only a success as a movie, but the marketing behind that is also equally a huge success. And you don't have any previous experience marketing movies, did you?
No.
So how did you sort of cross that bridge and got into a completely new sphere of what does it take to market a new movie? And extending brand is one thing. That's terrific, actually, in itself. But if you are getting into different industries altogether, it's not just about brand extension, but it's also about new ways of marketing that would not dilute in any way of your core marketing, yet it extends the success in the new domains.
Yeah, it absolutely was a new muscle for me, for sure. I will share that, again, when Anand became the chairman of Mattel and CEO, he did establish a legitimate Mattel film division. And so we hired a colleague of mine, an amazing woman, Robbie Brenner, to run Mattel Films. So right out of the gate, Robbie and I had a great partnership where, she absolutely knows about movie making and how to, surprise and delight audiences. We knew we wanted a bigger 4-quadrant film. This was not going to be a kid's movie. And I know the Barbie brand. And so we worked very complementary together as we provided notes and did immersions and so forth for the filmmakers. When it came to marketing, of course, I worked very closely with the Warner Brothers studio marketing team, Josh Goldstein. I'll never forget having lunch with him on the Warner Brothers lot. And right out of the gate, he was basically sharing, you're going to start getting uncomfortable because there's some things that we want to do to be provocative, especially when we think about teasing the film. And so the film marketing strategy was absolutely more adult targeted and was intended to make sure that, we got a broad audience and that people that thought they knew what the movie was would be completely surprised. But to do that, there was some messaging that he and Greta, of course, put forth. And I'll never forget, in one of the first trailers, the line in the trailer was, if you love Barbie, this movie is for you. And if you hate Barbie, this movie is for you.
True.
Well, as a marketer, as a brand steward, why would I ever feel comfortable
saying if you hate the brand?
If you hate the brand, why would I ever put that out there? So we had a lot of discussion and debate, but of course I got there. And, it was all about trusting these incredible creative partners, appreciating their expertise, and participating and collaborating, but also, recognizing that they helped us reach sort of new heights that we didn't know were possible.
But you also had 100 plus partnerships, I understand, right? The key thing is when you're particularly looking at multiple industries targeting at once, and you're crossing over from your traditional domain, so to speak, these partnerships are vital. And you have got more than 100 partnerships in this whole space. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, that was also, as I mentioned, an important initiative of ours. Is we wanted Barbie to be omnipresent, and we wanted to show up in as many unexpected places as possible, as well as expected places. We wanted to fuel fandom beyond our core kid audience, and so we thought very differently about the partnership approach than maybe we've done in past years. We ended up working with over 165 partners around the world in almost every category you can imagine, from apparel to wall coverings to luggage to inline skates, beauty, and so forth. We were in over 500 million retail doors around the world. And we thought about brands that we either had a shared mission with, we worked with some female founder brands, or we looked at brands that just were leaders in their space. But we were choiceful. There were absolutely some brands that we didn't work with, even though it does feel like we had casted a wide net.
Barbie is, of course, a gigantic brand now, and it's one of the many, many properties that Mattel has. Do you have similar plans for the whole bunch of other assets that you have?
Yes, we do, and so many learnings from the Barbie movie. But we're really excited about the future when we think about the strength of our brands or our IP. Hot Wheels is a great example. Hot Wheels is all about inspiring that challenger spirit inside of every kid. What it's most known for is racing and the little die-cast vehicle that's very accessibly priced. So interestingly, Hot Wheels is very ubiquitous. It's around the world. We have even more, I would say, penetration of Hot Wheels units than Barbie doll units, around the world, just because of the price point. But we are thinking about Hot Wheels, of course, as a franchise. And we've got a really successful tour that's been in the works now for about 6+ years called the Hot Wheels Legends Tour, where we invite fans of car culture to bring their actual cars that they view as hot wheels to events. And we have judges look at these tricked out cars, and ultimately they choose a winner of these events. And the winner's car gets immortalized into a die-cast toy, which is really fun. Of course, the irony is that our die-cast cars are also inspired by all these other real-life cars. So we kind of, again, go back and forth. But Hot Wheels is doing really well also in digital gaming. Again, the racing play pattern naturally translates to digital games, console, mobile, etc. And, we do have a Hot Wheels theatrical in the works.
So you're taking some of those successful initiatives and moving it across to your other properties as well?
Yes.
Now, we have seen a bunch of announcements about other cinematic releases that are going to happen with your properties, other properties, right? Do you see any challenges now that you have set such a high bar for yourself, which is not easy to reach or cross? And how do you see about you'll bring the successful learnings from this to really take it to, as high as where Barbie is today?
Well, I'm really excited about Masters of the Universe, which we've announced. That will be coming to theaters in June of 2026.
Okay.
But we're very excited to see what that does to the franchise. It's an opportunity to reinvigorate the franchise. It's an origin story. And again, taking a lot of learnings from Barbie. But what's exciting is that because of the Barbie movie, not only do we have a ton of incoming interest,
not surprisingly,
to partner with us and to tap into our catalog of IP, but also I think a lot of these creators are wanting to also challenge maybe their way in to some of these brands and stories. Everyone, I think, is being pushed to think even more broadly, think even more unexpectedly. Robbie Brenner, who runs our film division, is about creating great stories that connect with audiences and build fandom for our brands. But not every film is going to be the size, the magnitude, or even have the budget of a Barbie, and that's okay. We're looking at all different types of collaborations and executions. But the primary goal is to put great storytelling out there, and if we, again, accelerate other product purchases and create that deeper fan engagement, that's a big plus.
Has the company changed as a result of the success of Barbie?
I would say yes. We've had for about 5+ years an approach to brand management called the Mattel playbook, which is driven by 4 pillars. Brand purpose, which we talked a little bit about. So all of our brands are focused on, why they matter, what's that intrinsic value that they bring to consumers. Cultural relevance is another really important driving force for us. How do we stay connected to culture? How do we ensure that many of our brands that are decades old are timeless but also timely? I would say 2 shifts that we've made recently in that playbook approach has been we now operate with a franchise mindset. So we think about our toys and any one category as brands, but also ideas. We think about how do we translate these ideas to experiences, to other categories? How do we stretch our audience? And then relentless focus on the consumer. We've always been very consumer-oriented. We've always been a design-led organization, but we now are really honing in on consumer, audience, and fan in a even more surgical way than before.
So, Lisa, in all the marketing successes that I have seen in the recent past, your company certainly stands out beautifully. And Barbie is not just going to be a flash in the pan, even if it was a gigantic splash in the pan, but I think you'll have immense success, and I wish you the very best of luck, and thank you so very much. Much appreciated.
Pleasure. Thanks for coming
Thank
in.
you. Thank you.